My dear brothers and sisters, every child enters this world as a pure blessing, a trust from Allah. And today, in a world full of noise, confusion, and influences pulling our children in every direction, the question is no longer will they grow? They will. The real question is, what kind of hearts will they grow into? Confident, God-conscious, anchored in values, or shaped by the dunya? If we want righteous children tomorrow, we must become intentional parents today. Let us look at the prophetic roadmap, simple, practical, and transformative, for raising confident and righteous children in Islam. When we talk about raising confident and righteous children, the very first and most essential place to begin is not with the child at all, it is with the parent. Because children, even before they speak, before they understand, before they can form words, are absorbing. They are watching, feeling, sensing who we are long before they hear what we say. And if there is one truth we cannot escape, it is that children do not grow from our lectures, they grow from our states. They grow from what fills our hearts. They grow from what we practice in our homes. So when I say begin with yourself, I don't mean it as a slogan. I mean it as a spiritual foundation. Who you are with Allah becomes who your child becomes with the world. If a parent's heart is anchored, calm, connected, the child learns stability. If a parent deals with challenges through patience and turns to Allah instead of anger, the child learns emotional resilience. If a parent wakes for Fajr, even tired, even imperfectly, the child grows up understanding that worship is not optional. It is identity. Children are incredibly perceptive. Sometimes they won't obey your instructions, but they will imitate your character. If you tell them speak kindly, yet they hear you speak harshly to your spouse, they learn harshness. If you tell them don't lie, but they see you bending truth on the phone, they learn dishonesty. And if you tell them trust Allah, but they see you panic at every difficulty, they learn fear. But imagine the opposite. Imagine a child who grows up watching a parent who apologizes, who forgives, who says Bismillah before doing anything, who stops mid-conversation to pray, who cries in dua silently at night, who smiles at people, who gives sadaqah quietly without showing. That child grows up knowing what righteousness looks like, not theoretically but practically. Many parents underestimate the power of their daily routine. You may think your child is busy with toys or homework, but they are watching how you live. Every time you choose honesty over convenience, you are teaching without speaking. Every time you lower your voice when you're upset, you're teaching self-control. Every time you say Alhamdulillah instead of complaining, you're teaching gratitude. Children absorb these behaviors like the heart absorbs a fragrance, slowly, consistently, quietly, but permanently. And you don't need perfection. Children don't need perfect parents. They need sincere parents. What matters is not that you never slip. What matters is that when you slip, you return. The moment you seek forgiveness, your child learns humility. The moment you say, I made a mistake, your child learns accountability. When they see you try again, they learn perseverance. Imperfection is not a threat to your parenting. Hypocrisy is. A child respects a struggling, improving parent far more than a preaching, inconsistent one. Sometimes parents say, I cannot raise my child in this environment, or the world is too corrupted. But remember, the home you build is stronger than the world outside it. If the home is full of remembrance, mercy, and justice, then even when the world outside becomes loud, confusing, or tempting, the child's heart remains anchored. They may be tested, but they will know where to return. One of the most powerful ways to influence a child's heart is through your relationship with the Quran. Not just reciting it, but living by it. Let them see you open the mushaf after a long day. Let them hear you recite softly. Let them witness that the Quran is not an object, it is a companion. If the Quran lives in your heart, it will naturally find its place in theirs. The same applies to Salah. Children who grow up seeing their parents pray with presence, not rushing, not angry, but peacefully, are more likely to internalize Salah as a source of serenity. Salah becomes familiar, comforting, safe. You don't need long explanations. A single sincere prostration from a parent can shape a child's entire spiritual identity. Even your relationship with people teaches them Islam. When you respect your elders, they learn respect. When you hold your tongue from backbiting, they learn discipline. When you treat people with dignity, regardless of status, they learn justice. And when you show mercy, they learn the prophetic character that transforms hearts. Every child is a trust. And the first step in honoring that trust is transforming yourself. A righteous parent does not guarantee a righteous child, but it creates the strongest foundation, the clearest guidance, and the most fertile soil for righteousness to grow. And a confident parent, confident in Allah, confident in values, confident in purpose, naturally raises a confident child, because in the end, children don't become who we want, they become who we are. Let us start with ourselves, for their sake and for the sake of Allah. When we speak about nurturing confidence and righteousness in our children, the conversation must move directly toward the greatest anchor of the human heart, Tawheed. Because a child who knows Allah, not just academically, not through memorized facts, but through a living relationship, grows with an unshakable center. And this is where true confidence begins, not from praise, not from achievements, not from talents, but from knowing who created them, who sustains them, and who never leaves them. A child whose identity is built on Tawheed rises above fear, confusion, and insecurity long before the world even tries to define them. Introducing Tawheed is not a lecture, it is a daily lived experience. It is woven into your language, your reactions, your gratitude, and your hope. When you repeatedly say Alhamdulillah in small moments, your child learns that blessings are recognized. When you say Inshallah with trust, not frustration, your child learns that outcomes belong to Allah. When you whisper Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil during difficulty, your child learns that strength does not come from people, but from the one who controls all affairs. These small phrases, when said sincerely, shape a child's spiritual DNA. Parents think teaching Tawheed means sitting a child down and explaining theology. No, children learn Tawheed first through feelings, not definitions. When a child feels that Allah is loving, close, and responsive, they naturally develop confidence. They know they are never alone. They know someone sees them, hears them, protects them, and that knowledge becomes their refuge. Before you explain that Allah is Al-Wadud, let them feel His love through the way you speak about Him. Before you teach that Allah is Ar-Rahman, let them see your eyes soften when you mention Him. Let your child see that Allah brings you comfort. Because if Allah comforts you, they will turn to Him for their comfort. And when a child learns Tawheed young, they develop the ability to self-regulate. You won't need to frighten them into obedience. You won't need to use threats. A heart that knows Allah watches willingly chooses the right path. A child who knows that Allah sees them learns integrity, even when no one else is looking. This is the foundation of righteousness. Not fear of punishment, but love of Allah. And this love becomes their compass. You will see this especially in moments of uncertainty. A child rooted in Tawheed does not collapse when they fail. They understand that success and failure are both from Allah, both part of their journey. This is why Tawheed builds not only righteousness, but resilience. In a world where children are constantly told, "You are not good enough, you are not perfect, you need to be like someone else," Tawheed becomes their shield. Because a child who knows that Allah created them intentionally will never feel the need to be someone else. A child who believes my worth comes from Allah will not chase validation from people. And a child who knows my sustenance, my health, my future are in Allah's hands will not crumble under pressure to prove themselves. This is the confidence we want, not arrogance, not pride, but quiet, dignified confidence that flows from knowing the one who owns all things. To teach Tawheed, use the world around you. When rain falls, tell them Allah sent it. When something beautiful happens, say Allah gifted it. When something painful happens, remind them Allah protected them from worse. Every experience can become a moment of connection with Allah. Even bedtime can be a lesson. Sit beside them and say, close your eyes, knowing Allah is watching over you. That alone gives a child more security than any locked door. Storytelling is one of the most powerful tools. Tell them about the young boy in the cave with the companions, the children around Rasulullah who grew into giants of faith, the prophets who trusted Allah in their most difficult moments. These stories plant seeds of courage. They teach the heart that trust in Allah is not theoretical, it is actionable, it is real, and it transforms lives. Above all, ensure your child understands that Allah is not distant. He is not waiting to punish, He is near, He is forgiving, He is gentle. Teach Tawheed with hope, not fear, with warmth, not harshness. Children who love Allah naturally obey Him, and children who know Allah walk into the world with confidence, humility, and a heart protected from the storms of society. When a child's identity is anchored in Tawheed, the world may shake, but they will not fall. Because the strongest hearts are the hearts attached to the one who never changes. When we speak about raising children whose hearts are confident and righteous, we must look at the environment we create inside our homes. Because children don't become attached to faith by accident, they become attached through atmosphere, through repetition, through what surrounds them every single day. And one of the most powerful atmospheres you can build is a home where Salah, Quran, and Dhikr are not occasional acts but a natural rhythm of life. Not a burden, not a checklist, a culture. You see, a child learns what is normal from what they see most often. If a child grows up in a home where Salah is rushed, delayed, or treated as a disruption, they absorb the idea that worship is something you squeeze into the cracks of your day. But if the child grows up in a home where the adhan is the moment everything pauses, where Salah is approached with calmness and priority, their heart learns that Allah comes first, even if they don't fully understand why, even if they are too young to pray properly. What matters is what you normalize. And this is not about perfection. Children don't need to see you in a state of flawless khushu. They need to see sincerity. They need to see that you value this act. Even praying with distractions around you still teaches them commitment. When they see you pray while they play, they learn that Salah belongs in real life, not in ideal conditions. And when you gently involve them, letting them stand beside you, giving them a space on the prayer mat, asking them to help you spread the rug, they develop affection for prayer long before obligation. Then comes the Quran. Many parents worry about getting their child to memorize, but memorization comes later. Love comes first. A child who loves the sound of Quran will naturally want to learn it. Let the Quran be heard often in your home, not only during Ramadan or special occasions. Let it play softly in the morning as you start your day. Recite out loud as you cook, as you clean, as you sit. Let your child see that Quran is not an ornament or a display item, it is a friend. Children form emotional bonds with what feels familiar, comforting, and close. The mushaf should not be a sacred object they fear touching. It should be a companion they grow up with. Sit with them and read even a single page, even if they cannot read yet. Let them hold their own little mushaf. Let them trace the letters. Let them hear your voice soften when you recite. They may not remember the verses, but they will remember how Quran felt. And that emotional memory is what brings them back to Allah later in life. Even if they wander, even if they struggle, dhikr is another gentle thread that ties the heart to Allah. Children learn dhikr through repetition in simple, consistent moments. When they wake up and you say Alhamdulillah, when you hand them food and say Bismillah, when something good happens and you remind them to say Alhamdulillah, their hearts become naturally trained to remember Allah without effort. The goal is not to force dhikr on them. The goal is to weave it into life so smoothly that it becomes part of their instinct. When your child is frightened, sit with them and say, let's say La ilaha illallah together. When they cannot sleep, whisper Ayatul Kursi or Surat al-Falaq. When they lose something, say, let's ask Allah to help us find it. These small moments teach reliance. They teach comfort. They teach that remembrance of Allah is not a ritual, it is a refuge. And the beautiful thing is that a home filled with Salah, Quran, and Dhikr becomes a home with barakah. The atmosphere changes, the arguments soften, the hearts calm down. Children feel spiritually safe, even when the world outside is chaotic. You may not notice the transformation day by day, but you will see it over time. A child raised in a spiritually rich environment carries that light wherever they go, even if they experience challenges, even if they encounter negativity or temptation, they have something inside them that keeps pulling them back toward Allah. This is why cultivating this environment matters. Not through force, not through pressure, through consistency, love, and example. Make worship accessible, warm, and present. Your children may not remember every lesson you teach them, but they will remember how your home felt. And a home filled with the rhythms of worship becomes a place where faith takes root effortlessly. A child who grows up surrounded by Salah, Quran, and Dhikr carries those sounds and feelings in their heart for a lifetime. When we think about raising righteous children, many parents immediately imagine long conversations, formal lessons, or structured reminders. But the truth is, the most powerful teaching you will ever offer your child does not come from planned moments. It comes from real life, ordinary, spontaneous, unpolished moments where character is shaped quietly, naturally, and deeply. Children learn Islam not only from what they hear, but from how they experience it through you. And this is where our role becomes both a responsibility and a blessing. Children are incredibly observant. They notice how you react when someone upsets you, how you speak when you are tired, how you behave when no one is watching. They absorb your tone, your patience, your frustration, your kindness. And these unfiltered moments become lessons far stronger than any lecture. When you guide them through real-life situations with gentleness, wisdom, and balance, you are teaching them the character of a believer without needing to say a single word. For example, your child spills something on the floor. This is not simply a mess. This is a teaching moment. You can choose anger or you can choose mercy, and the response you choose will shape their inner dialogue for years. When you say, "It's okay, let's clean it together," you teach responsibility without shame. They learn that mistakes are part of life, not reasons to fear you. A child who grows up unafraid of mistakes becomes confident, honest, and willing to try again, qualities essential for both faith and life. Another moment, your child comes home upset because a friend hurt their feelings. You could tell them to ignore it, or you could sit beside them and walk them through empathy and forgiveness. You could say, "Let's think, maybe that friend was having a difficult day. How can we handle this with kindness?" In that moment, you are not only comforting your child, you are shaping their emotional intelligence, their compassion, their ability to interpret the world with softness instead of harshness. These are the qualities that formed the heart of the Prophet and his companions. When you're driving and someone cuts you off and your child is in the back seat, that is also a moment of teaching. If your response is anger, irritation, or harsh words, your child learns that losing control is acceptable. But if they see you breathe, calm yourself, and say something like, "May Allah guide them," you are teaching them more about self-control and good character than any story could. Children learn self-regulation by watching it, not by being told about it. The same applies when you make mistakes. Parents sometimes believe they need to appear flawless for their children. But that expectation creates an unrealistic model. Children don't need perfect parents. They need sincere ones. When you raise your voice and later return to your child and say, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken that way," you teach humility. You show them that admitting wrong is a form of strength, not weakness. You show them that correction is honorable. You show them that change is possible. This builds emotional safety and instills a pattern of accountability they will carry into their adult relationships. And when it comes to Islamic character, the most powerful lessons are lived, not spoken. Teach generosity by letting them place coins into a sadaqah box. Teach patience by waiting your turn in a line without complaint. Teach gratitude by saying Alhamdulillah for simple things like warm food or a cool breeze. Teach good manners by greeting neighbors with kindness. Teach modesty by choosing your words carefully. These small actions imprint deeply, more deeply than you can imagine. Even discipline becomes a teaching moment. Discipline is necessary, of course, but it should be rooted in mercy. When your child misbehaves, don't react with humiliation or fear. Sit with them, speak calmly. Help them understand why the action was wrong and how they can do better next time. This type of guidance builds conscience, not fear. It builds understanding, not resentment. It teaches your child to regulate themselves instead of adjusting only when someone is watching. Storytelling is another powerful tool. When something happens in your home, someone tells the truth, someone helps a family member, someone shows kindness, link it back to the stories of the prophets or the companions. Say, that reminds me of how the Prophet dealt with people, or this is how the companions used to support one another. These connections turn ordinary moments into spiritual nourishment. Real-life moments are where children learn sincerity, integrity, compassion, courage, and humility. You don't need to lecture them every day. You just need to live your values every day. And when you do, your home becomes a place where character grows effortlessly. Because the most powerful lessons a child learns are the ones they see reflected in your daily life. When we talk about raising confident children, we often focus on protecting them, guiding them, keeping them safe. And yes, protection matters. But sometimes, without realizing it, we protect so much that we prevent them from growing. Confidence does not develop in children who never face challenges. Confidence develops in children who are trusted, who are given responsibility, who are allowed to try, to struggle, to make mistakes, and to rise again. This is how children learn capability. This is how they learn strength. This is how they learn self-respect. Children naturally want to help. They want to contribute. They want to feel that they matter. But many times, parents unintentionally dismiss them. The child says, "Can I help?" And the parent replies, "No. You'll make a mess, or you're too small, or you don't know how." Over time, the child learns to step back instead of stepping forward. They learn hesitancy, they learn dependence, they learn fear of doing things wrong. And this is the opposite of confidence. Giving a child responsibility is not about burdening them. It's about giving them a sense of ownership and purpose. Even simple responsibilities, like putting away their toys, pouring water into cups, feeding a pet, wiping the table, teach them that they are capable. And capability breeds confidence. When a child feels competent, they approach the world with assurance instead of doubt. But responsibility grows with age. As they get older, give them bigger tasks. Let them make decisions. Let them choose their clothes. Let them help plan the weekly meals. Let them manage small amounts of money. Let them handle simple conflicts with siblings before stepping in. These are not just tasks, they are training for adulthood. You are teaching them independence. You are teaching them judgment. You are teaching them that they are not helpless. Along with responsibility must come trust. When you give a child a task, trust them with it. Even if they don't do it perfectly, honor the effort. Perfection should never be the goal. Growth is. Praise the attempt, praise the intention, praise the progress. A child who hears you're trying and that's wonderful learns perseverance. A child who only hears you missed a spot or not like that learns self-doubt. Confidence grows when you give your child a chance to fail safely. Failure is not the enemy. Fear of failure is. Let them attempt something and not get it right the first time. Let them experience small disappointments. Let them feel what it's like to struggle. And then guide them through resilience. Say, "Let's try again." Say, "What did you learn?" Say, "This is how we improve." When a child sees failure as a normal part of life, they do not fear challenges. They do not run from effort. They do not hide their weaknesses. They grow through them. And mirrors the teachings of Islam. Look at how Allah deals with us. He does not expect perfection from us. He expects effort. He rewards intention. He forgives mistakes. He invites us to rise again after every fall. When we parent in the same spirit, we raise children who do not crumble when they make a mistake. They turn back. They correct themselves. They try again. This is real confidence, rooted in humility, not arrogance. Another way to build confidence is to allow your child to solve problems. When they come to you saying, "I can't do this," resist the urge to immediately fix it. Sit with them and ask, "What do you think we can do?" Guide their thinking, but don't replace it. The moment they discover that they can find solutions, a spark ignites inside them. This spark becomes self-reliance. A child who learns to think instead of just follow becomes strong. Responsibility also teaches accountability. When a child spills something and you say, "Let's clean it together," instead of "Look what you did," they learn responsibility without shame. When they forget a task and you remind them gently, they learn reliability without fear. Accountability with mercy builds courage. Accountability with anger builds anxiety. And remember, confidence is not loudness. Confidence is not always boldness. True confidence is quiet. It is steady. It is the belief deep inside that I can try, I can learn, I can handle this, I am capable, Allah will help me. This type of confidence grows through nurture, patience, trust, and responsibility. Give your child opportunities to stand and they will learn how to walk. Give them opportunities to walk and they will learn how to run. Give them opportunities to run and they will eventually learn how to soar. Because a child who is trusted learns to trust themselves. When we talk about protecting our children, our minds often go straight to physical safety, food, shelter, school, health. But the most delicate part of a child is not their body, it is their heart. And their heart is constantly being shaped by the world around them. Every image, every sound, every conversation, every environment they step into becomes part of what they internalize. This is why protecting their hearts is not about isolating them. It is about guiding what enters, what stays, and what shapes them. Children today grow up surrounded by noise, not just literal noise, but emotional and spiritual noise. Content that confuses them, ideas that contradict their values, role models that lack character, and influences that normalize behaviors far from modesty or sincerity. And because their hearts are soft, open, curious, and trusting, they absorb these influences far faster than adults do. This is why your awareness as a parent matters. Not fear, not paranoia. Awareness. Protecting their hearts begins with knowing what they are exposed to. What do they watch? What do they hear? Who do they spend time with? What kind of conversations happen around them? You cannot control everything, and you shouldn't try to. But you can be intentional. You can choose wisely. The goal is not to shield them from the world. The goal is to strengthen them while guiding what enters their environment. For example, the media they consume matters deeply. Some parents assume that they are just cartoons or just songs, but children learn values through stories long before they learn them from parents. If the characters they watch are disrespectful, rude, dishonest, or obsessed with material things, then those traits sink into their subconscious. But if they watch stories that celebrate kindness, courage, patience, and good behavior, their hearts absorb those qualities naturally. You can redirect without restricting harshly. Replace, don't just remove. Guide, don't just forbid. The same applies to friends. Friends shape personality more than parents sometimes realize. If your child spends time with people who mock goodness, normalize disobedience, or belittle others, that influence will eventually dull their own sense of right and wrong. But when they are surrounded by peers who encourage good manners, who value hard work, who speak with respect, and who support each other, your child grows in goodness effortlessly. Guide their circle with wisdom. Invite good families. Create environments where positive friendships are possible. Your home environment matters just as much. A home filled with yelling, arguments, negativity, or sarcasm becomes emotionally heavy for a child. Even if the content outside is pure, the atmosphere inside can damage their heart. But a home where people speak kindly, forgive easily, apologize sincerely, and encourage each other creates emotional safety. that emotional safety becomes spiritual safety, because children who feel emotionally secure are far more open to learning, loving, and practicing their faith. And here is something many parents overlook: protecting their heart does not mean exposing them to nothing difficult. Hardship is part of life. Challenges teach resilience. But you protect their heart by teaching them how to process those difficulties. When something upsetting happens, sit with them, ask how they feel, show them that their emotions are valid, then guide them gently toward understanding, patience, and turning to Allah. Teach them that their heart has a refuge, not in the world, but in the one who created it. In protecting their heart, you must also be a source of clarity. Children are exposed to confusing ideas about identity, morality, success, relationships. If you do not speak to them with wisdom, the world will fill the silence with its own definitions. Never assume they are too young to understand. Children understand more than we think. Speak simply, honestly, and in a way that nurtures their dignity. When they ask questions, don't shut them down. Guide them, ground them. Most importantly, replace harmful influences with nourishing ones. Surround them with stories of the prophets, the companions, the people of righteousness. Let them see examples of real courage, real generosity, real humility. Give them heroes who strengthen their heart instead of weakening it. Children naturally imitate those they admire. Make sure their admiration is anchored in goodness. Protecting a child's heart is not about building walls, it's about building strength. It's about giving them a foundation so solid that when the world pulls, their heart stays steady. When temptations come, they know how to choose. When confusion arises, they know where to turn. When challenges appear, they know who they are. Because a child whose heart is protected grows into an adult whose faith is unshakable. As we bring everything together, I want you to pause for a moment and imagine the child you hope to raise. Their heart, their character, their courage, their faith. These qualities don't appear suddenly at adulthood. They are built quietly, patiently, consistently through the choices you make every single day as a parent. You are not just raising a child, you are shaping a soul. And that soul is a trust from Allah. When you begin with yourself, your child sees faith alive in front of them. When you anchor their identity in Tawheed, they walk through the world with confidence that doesn't break. When your home pulses with Salah, Quran, and Dhikr, their heart becomes familiar with peace. When you teach character through real moments, they learn Islam not as words but as a way of living. When you give them responsibility, they grow strong, capable, and resilient. And when you protect their hearts from harmful influences, they carry their faith with purity and clarity. None of this requires perfection. It requires sincerity. It requires presence. It requires love, guided by wisdom. Your mistakes will not ruin them, and your efforts will not go unnoticed by Allah. Parenting is a journey of returning, correcting, trying again, and every step you take with the intention of pleasing Allah becomes light for you and for your child. So walk this path with hope. Walk it with trust. Walk it knowing that Allah sees your effort, your late nights, your prayers, your tears, your fears, your hopes for your children. And He is the one who turns hearts. You plant, you water, but He is the one who gives growth. Raise them with your hands, but raise them for Him. And if you do that, by His mercy, you will not only raise confident and righteous children, you will raise a generation that carries light into a world that desperately needs it.